Good morning, student. Welcome to the fifth lecture of Computer Architecture and Organization. In the last lecture, we have discussed about how to execute a typical instruction, how to fetch instruction, how to decode and execute an instruction. Along with that, we have discussed about which are the special purpose registers and which are the general purpose registers. So now we know that what is program counter, what is instruction register, memory address register, memory data register, and for what purpose we use the general purpose registers. Okay, so what is program counter? Program counter always puts the address of next instruction. Okay, what is instruction register? Instruction register holds the instruction that is being executed. Now memory address register is used to hold the address, and memory data register is used to read and write the data to and from the memory. Okay, and the general purpose registers are used for various purposes, but basically they are used for storing the data temporary for the later use or another purposes. Okay, so now in today's lecture, we will discuss about the interconnection of all the devices, how all the devices in the computer system are interconnected with each other. That we are talking in the today's lecture. Okay, so first of all, bus structure. Now the today's topic is bus structure. So which are the functional units of your computer system? Input unit, output unit, control unit, and memory unit. Okay, so these all are the hardware components of the computer. So for performing various operations, they require connection and communication between them. Okay, so the collection of path connecting these components is called as interconnection structure. Okay, so the path that connects your computer unit, your memory unit, input unit, and output unit is called as interconnection structure. So the group of wires, or we can say that group of lines that serve as a connecting path for several devices is called as bus. Okay, now what is group of wire and group of lines? I will tell you in the next topic. So the bus that connects major components of computer like control unit or central processing unit, memory unit, and input output unit is called as system bus. Okay, one of the most important term, the bus that connects major components of a computer like central processing unit, memory unit, and the input output unit is called as a system bus. Okay, now apart from the system bus, basically there are three buses in your computer system. First one is address bus, data bus, and control bus. Okay, or we can say that the system bus which connects central processing unit, memory unit, and input output unit is divided into three functional groups, that is address bus, data bus, and the control bus. Okay, so what is data bus? Now we know that memory data register, which is used to read and write data to and from the memory. So what is data bus? Now data bus consists of 8, 16, 32 or more parallel lines. As you can see here, group of lines that serve as a connecting path for several devices is called bus. Now data bus consists of 8, 16, 32 or more parallel lines. Now what is meant by this group of lines or group of wires? It means that your data bus can be 8-bit, 16-bit and 32-bit or more. Okay, so if you have a 8-bit of data, that means this 8-bit of data can be transferred by using 8-bit data bus, or we can say that 8-bit 8 lines, group of 8 lines or group of 8 wires. Now 16-bit of data bus, it means that data bus consists of 16 parallel lines or 16 wires. Okay, each wire or each line for 1 bit. It means that by using 16 bit of data bus, we can transfer 16 bit of data. Then 32 bit of data bus means data bus consists of 32 lines or 32 wires. That means 32 bit of data can be transferred by using 32 bit data bus. Okay, now understood the meaning of lines or wires: 8 bit, 16 bit, 32 bit, 64 bit, or many more parallel lines. Now, this data bus, the data bus lines are bidirectional. It means that data bus are used to receive data from memory, that means reading data, and the input unit, memory and input unit, and to give data to memory and output unit, that means writing data. Okay, we are performing always two steps: reading data and writing data. So your data bus is bidirectional, which is used to receive data from memory and input unit, and to give data to memory and the output unit. Okay, so data bus is connected in parallel to all the components. Then next one is address bus. So address bus consists of 16, 20, 24 or more parallel lines. Okay, now I think you get the concept that what is the 16, 20 and 24 parallel lines. It means that by using the 16-bit address bus, you can transfer 16-bit of address. By using 20-bit address bus, you can transfer 20-bit of address. Okay, and 24. Okay, so these bits means parallel lines or parallel wires, each line for 1 bit. Okay, now address bus is unidirectional. Data bus is bidirectional to read and write data, but address bus is always unidirectional. Okay, so CPU sends the address of the memory location or input output port, which is to be written or read from. Then next one is the control bus. Control lines regulate the activity on the bus, which is the function of your control unit. So control lines or control bus regulate the activity on the bus. CPU sends signal on the control bus to enable the outputs of address memory device or ports device. So how CPU sends control signals to enable the outputs of address memory devices or port devices, that we will discuss in detail in your microprogram and the hardware control. Okay, so you just now understood the concept what is control bus. So control bus or control lines regulate the activity on the bus, and it sends control signals to enable the outputs of address memory devices and port devices. Okay, so the group of lines or group of wires that serve as a connecting path for several devices is called as bus. The bus which interconnects central processing unit, memory unit, and input output unit is called as system bus, and the system bus functionality is divided into three groups: address bus, data bus, control bus. Data bus is 8 bit, 16 bit, 32 bit, or more parallel lines, and it is bidirectional. Address bus is 16-bit bus, 20-bit, 24-bit, or more parallel lines, but it is unidirectional. And control bus generates control signals to regulate the activity on the bus. Okay, now the typical control lines. The typical control bus includes memory write, memory read, IO write, IO read, transfer acknowledgement, bus request, and bus grant signals. So first of all, what is memory write? Okay, data is written to the addressed memory location. That is memory write control signal, which is generated by control unit. It means that data is to be written to the address memory location. Then memory read. Data is placed on the bus from the address memory location. Now here we are reading data from memory. While processor fetch instruction from the memory, that time we use this memory read. Then IO write. Now data is given to the addressed IO port. What is addressed IO port? On which address we have to store that data, we have to send that data. Okay, so that means the addressed IO port. Now IO read. The data is placed on the bus from the addressed IO. Then transfer acknowledgement. Transfer acknowledgement indicates that data have been from or placed on the bus. Then bus request. Module needs to gain control of the bus and the bus grant signal. Requesting module has been granted control of the bus. Now, what is control signal? That we will discuss in the microprogram control unit and hardwired control unit. What is bus request and bus grant control signal? That we will discuss in detail in the direct memory access. Okay. After that, single bus structure. So to achieve a reasonable speed of operation, computer must be organized so that all its unit can handle one full word of data at a given time. And for that we use 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit address buses and data buses. Okay, so to achieve a reasonable speed of operation, computer must be organized so that all its units can handle one full word of data at a given time. One word is 16-bit. Okay, so when a word of data is transferred between units, all its bits are transferred in parallel. So one word is 16-bit. That means to transfer 16-bit of data, we will use 16-bit of data bus, and to transfer 16-bit of address, we will use 16-bit of address bus. So these all bits are must be transferred in parallel. So all the buses are parallel in nature. So when so the bits are transferred simultaneously over many wires or lines, or as I told you, one bit per line. That means if there are 16 lines or 16 wires in data bus, so 16 bit of data is transferred like one bit per line. So group of lines that serve as a connecting path for several devices is called as bus. In addition to the line that carry the data, the bus must have lines for address and control purposes. So the simplest way to connect functional units is to use a single bus. Now what is single bus? Just look at the figure. In this diagram, all the units are connected to this single bus. Okay, so because the bus can be used for only one transfer at a time, only two units can actively use the bus at any given time, because here we are using single bus. So at a time, only two devices can use this bus. Okay. After that, the control lines are used to arbitrate multiple requests for the use of bus. To arbitrate the multiple requests, it means that at the same time, input unit requests to access the bus, output unit also requests to access the bus, memory also, and processor also. Okay, now here we are using single bus. So when at the same time all units are requesting the bus, your computer system will slow down. Okay, or it will become hang or crash. Okay, so that time the control lines are used to arbitrate the multiple requests. It means that it is depends on control line to grant access to which device. For example, if input device has urgent requirement to access the bus, so that time this control signal provides grant to input device. Okay. At the same time, output device and memory device both are requesting the bus. Now, based on the priority, control lines provide access to the memory and output unit one by one. So the main virtue of this single bus structure is its low cost. It is a very low cost, and its flexibility for attaching the peripheral devices. This is the advantage of a single bus, that it is low cost and we can add many more devices to this bus easily. Okay, so like input device, output device, memory, processor. Here we can also add printer, scanner, and many more devices easily. So system can contain multiple buses, achieve more concurrency in operations by allowing two or more transfers to be carried out at the same time. So this leads to the better performance, but at an increased cost. So this is single bus, but if we want to transfer multiple data or to achieve more concurrency in operation, we have to add some more buses to this, and which is very costly process. So The devices connected to a bus vary widely in their speed of operations. Some electromechanical devices like keyboard, printer are relatively slow, but some magnetic or optical discs are considerably fast. So devices connected to a bus are vary in their operational speed. Memory and processor unit operate at electronic speed, making them the fastest part of computer because all the devices must communicate with each other over a bus and efficient transfer mechanism. So for smooth out the differences in timing among processors, memory, and external devices is very necessary. So if the speed of the bus is bounded by the slowest device connected to it, the efficiency will be very low. So how to solve this efficiency and speed issue? For this, there is another approach, that is use buffers. So common approach is to include buffer registers with the devices to hold the information during transfer, that holds the data temporarily. So consider the transfer of an character from processor to printer, or consider an example that you want to print one or two pages from your printer. So the processor sends this page over the bus to the printer. For example, this is processor and here is your printer. Now you want to print a page. Now processor transfers this page to the printer by using this bus. Okay, so since the buffer is an electronic register, this transfer requires relatively little time. That means once the buffer is loaded, that means once your page is loaded into buffer register, printer can start printing without further intervention by the processor. Now processor transfer this page to the printer. Now between that there is a buffer register which holds that page temporary, and now while transferring this page to the printer, now processor is free for performing another operation. Okay, so once the buffer is loaded with the page, printer can start printing without further intervention by the processor. So the bus and processor are no longer needed and can be released for other activity. Now bus is free and processor is also free to perform another activities. So the printer continues printing its pages in its buffer and is not available for further transfer until this process is complete. So now pages are loaded into the buffer and printer is busy in printing his pages. Okay, now at the same time, if processor transfer another pages to the printer, now printer is not free to print these pages because printer is busy in his old task. Okay, so that time also buffer register hold the pages sent by the processor. So this buffer register smooth out timing differences among processor, memory, and I/O devices. So they prevent the high-speed processor from being locked to a slow I/O devices during sequence of data transfer. So here processor don't need to wait for printer. Processor just transfer his pages to the buffer, and now buffer will hold that pages till the printer will become free. And once printer will become free, buffer transfer these pages to the printer and printer again will start printing the new pages. And in that way, we can improve the speed of our computer system. So this allows the processor to switch rapidly from one device to another device, intervening its processing activity with data transfer involving some I/O devices. Okay, after that, speed issue. And next one is the performance issue. So the most important measure of the performance of computer is how quickly it can execute a program. So how quickly our processor can execute a program. If your processor execute a program very fastly, it will directly proportional to the performance of your computer system. So the speed with which a computer executes program is affected by the design of its hardware and its machine language instruction. So there is a pipelining concept also to improve the performance of the processor, but I think pipelining is not included in your syllabus, but in one of the lecture we will discuss about what is pipelining. So because programs are usually written in a high language, performance is also affected by the compiler that translates programs into machine language. So your performance is depends on the hardware components and the machine language that you are using in the computer system. So basically there are three factors that affects the performance. First one is the hardware design, second one is instruction set, and third one is the compiler. So for the best performance, it is necessary to design the compiler, it is necessary to design machine instruction sets and the hardware in a coordinated way. Okay. So look at this diagram. Now, let us examine the flow of program instructions and the data between the memory and the processor. Now, your main memory and processor is connected to a single bus. So, at the start of the execution, all program instructions and all the required data are stored in memory. Now, we know that the program instructions and data are always stored in the memory. So, at the start of the instruction, all program instructions and the required data are stored in main memory. So as execution proceeds, the instructions are fetched one by one over the bus into the processor. Now processor fetches instruction from memory by using this bus. Now this bus contains memory address bus, memory data bus, memory address register, memory data register also. Okay, so processor fetches the instruction from main memory by using this bus and copy is placed in the cache. Now we have a separate chapter for cache memory. Okay, but now just understood that the data or a copy of data is placed in the cache memory. So when the execution of an instruction calls for data located in the main memory, the data is fetched and copy is placed in the cache. For example, instruction is add R1, R0. Now R1 and R0 both are the processor register. That means here is R1 and here is R0. Now processor fetches an instruction from memory by using this bus. What is instruction? Add R1, R0. Now after fetching this instruction involves data. Okay, now where is that data stored? Data is stored in the processor register, that is R1 and R2. Okay, so after fetching this data or after reading this data from this processor register, this data is stored in the cache memory. Later, if the same instruction or data item is needed for second time, it is read directly from the cache. So cache memory is used to hold frequently used data. That means again, after some time, processor fetch instruction from memory. Instruction is add R1, R0. Now processor don't need to fetch data from R1 and R0. Processor directly get that data by the main memory. Okay, by using processor directly gets that data from cache memory. Okay, so it will reduce the fetching and decoding time. Processor directly gets the data in the main memory, and that's why the cache memory is one of the responsible factor for increasing the performance of the computer system. So the processor and cache memory can be fabricated on a single integrated circuit chip. Cache memory is always integrated into the processor chip. It is the one of the fastest and smallest memory. So the internal speed of performing the basic steps of instruction processing on such cache memory is very high and is considerably faster than the speed at which instructions and data can be fetched from main memory. So first to fetch the instruction from main memory, then to fetch the data from main memory, then involvement of memory address register, memory data register, data bus, address bus. Apart from these all steps, processor can directly get the data from cache memory. So cache memory is used to hold the frequently used data. Cache memory is used to reduce the access time and it is one of the fastest memory. So program will be executed faster if the moment of instruction and data between main memory and processor is minimized and which is achieved by using the cache memory. So for example, suppose a number of instructions are executed repeatedly over a short period of time, as happens in a program loop, as you see in a C program and CPP program. So if these instructions are available in the cache memory, they can be fetched quickly during the period of repeated use. Processor don't need to go all the times to the main memory. Okay, and by using this cache memory, we can improve the performance of the computer system. So which are the factors which are responsible for the performance or which can affect the performance? First one is hardware design. Second one is instruction set, that means the machine level language that you are going to use. And third one is the compiler. And along with this, cache memory is also responsible for improving the performance of the system. So the processor and a relatively small cache memory can be fabricated on a single integrated circuit chip, or in the simplest way, we can say that cache memory is always integrated onto the processor chip. Okay, and the cache memory is responsible for increasing the speed of your system. Cache memory cost effective also, and it is responsible for the memory management. So what is cache memory? We will see in detail in the second or third unit, which is dedicated for the cache memory only. And in the next lecture, we will talk about the what is processor clock, and how processor clock is responsible for the performance of the system. Okay, so in today's lecture, we'll talk about what is bus structure, what is address bus, data bus, and control bus. Then what control line includes or what control signal includes, that is memory write, memory read, IO write, IO read, transfer acknowledgement, bus request, and bus grant. After that, we'll discuss about the single bus. All the devices are connected to a single bus. But one of the disadvantage of single bus is that only one or two devices can communicate at the same time by using this bus. Otherwise, it will slow down your computer system. So that's why we use arbitration. Arbitration means your control signal grants grant that bus to your output devices by using depending on the priority. After that, we have discussed the speed issues, performance issues, and what is cache memory.